All right, so we are here for the Enabling Tech Talk. It is June 3rd, and this is kind of just a dry run, but we're going to see how it goes. My name is Brady. I'm the Executive Director with Enabling Technology Solutions. We are a enabling technology and assistive technology provider in the state of Tennessee. We serve people through choices and ECF choices, as well as Katie Beckett 1915C waivers. So, joined here today, a couple co-hosts. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Ezra Reynolds. I'm an assistive technology professional. And Evan?
Hello. Sorry, I thought you were going to add more to your title.
Me too.
I did too, but then I decided to just pass the ball.
Hi, I'm Evan. I am the East Tennessee technician. I do everything from Bristol to around Cookeville, Crossville area. And today we're going to be talking about a couple of quick items in the agenda. We're going to be reviewing some at-home, easy can-do Alexa tips for accessibility and independence. So we'll cover a few of those easy commands that we can kind of do. Maybe you need refreshers, maybe you need reminders, or maybe you've not heard about some of these nice tips you can do with your Alexa. After that, we're going to kind of review some of the SwitchBot units. SwitchBot has been a pretty good solution for a lot of our unique challenges that we face every day, and they offer a nice suite of options for a wide variety of categories. So we'll go right and
wrap it up with some questions and answers from the audience.
Yeah.
So if you get your struggles that you're dealing with, just hold tight, and we'll open that up in the end to answer those questions for you. Ezra, you want to lead us off with the some Alexa stuff?
Sure. Thank you, Brady. The Alexa is a very common smart speaker, and a lot of the things you can do with Alexa, you can do with other things too, like the Apple Home or the Google smart speaker. But today we're focusing on Alexa, and especially we're going to talk about how Alexa routines can be used by people with disabilities. The most common thing that a lot of people do with a routine, and before I get too far into the weeds here, a routine is where you can actually make a series of events that happen when you say a word or when something happens with like your smart sensors in your house. And Alexa will do these things or do the things on a timer. So what a lot of people use the Alexa routines for are things like reminders to take medication. So you might have a reminder set at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it will say your name and remind you which medications you need to take. And so then every day at 9 o'clock, it would say, Ezra, it's time to take your levothyroxine or whatever other medications you're wanting it to take. And that's a good reminder. That's just, because people get zoned in, they get locked into what they're doing, and they forget. And then it's 12 o'clock, and did I take my medicine? I mean, I thought I did, maybe. And then you risk double dosing yourself, or you either skipped a dose or you took too many of your medication. And just having that reminder every day, hey, it's time to do this, is a big help for people. And you can set as many reminders as you want throughout the day. For some people, it might be, hey, you need to go stretch your legs, go take a walk, go walk the dog, go let the dog out. Whatever these things are, but you can structure these things into your day so that, the things that you need to do get done. The things that you need to get done every day get done. And it helps keep you on track and helps keep you consistent with things. Other people might do something like, let's make it so that the alarm goes off in the morning at 6 o'clock, and it starts playing music, and it turns my bedroom light on. That's a routine that you can make. And so every morning, you don't have to remember to set your alarm clock on your phone. You don't have to worry about, did I forget to charge my phone last night and now the alarm clock doesn't go off. You can then have your favorite song start playing at 6 o'clock in the morning, and turn the bedroom lights, if you have like smart light bulbs, which you can adjust the brightness, turn the brightness to 15%. And then at 6:05, turn them to 50%. And then at 6:15, turn the brightness all the way on, and give yourself that extra reminder to get up and get out of bed. And so that way it's not just jarring you awake by going from 0 to 100 in 1 second. The lights are gradually coming on, and your favorite music is playing, and maybe the news of the day or things like that could be playing as well. Or the same thing when you're going to bed. For example, in my case, my wife has set Alexa routines so that the bedroom lights start getting dimmer as the evening progresses, and they start getting redder as the evening progresses, because there's a lot of studies that show that harsh blue light is really, really bad for your melatonin production. And so, red light doesn't mess up with your eyes as bad. It helps regulate your sleep hormones, whereas bright white light just kind of messes with a lot of that. So she has the lights in our bedroom set to gradually get dimmer and redder as the evening progresses, and she's used an Alexa routine to do that. Other people might have a special word that they can use to turn certain lights on, or like if you have someone who maybe they have a bedroom light routine where you can just say, Alexa, bathroom, and it turns on just one light, or it turns on the light between your bed and the bathroom. You can also create Alexa routines with sensors, like a motion sensor or when a door is open. So, for example, we have one client that is elderly, and her family is just really concerned about her safety, and they live like 2 doors down. So it's not a big deal for them to come over, but they have it set so that whenever she opens the door, it could be just to go outside. It could be because the pizza delivery guy's here or whatever. But every time she opens the door, her daughter gets a text message on her phone from Alexa just saying, hey, the front door got open. And that's, she can then check, just make sure that things are okay, and she didn't open the door for the boogeyman or something like that. And, it just helps her peace of mind, because she knows every time the front door is open, and then the side door that nobody ever uses, she gets a text message every time that one's open too. So if something happened at that side door that nobody is supposed to be using gets open, she gets a text message about it and can then figure out what's going on with that. I have another client, and again, they're elderly, they're fall risk, and we set up motion detectors and then combine that with an Alexa routine to turn the lights on for the bathroom. Excuse me. So that way, when they just enter the bathroom, the motion detector triggers the Alexa routine, and it turns the lights on for 20 minutes. And then they're not having to fumble around in the dark for the light switch. They don't have to take their hands off their walker, which would be really unsafe for them, again, because of their being fall risk. They have enough time to do their business, and then they can get back out the bathroom before it shuts the lights off. Again, the motion sensor is in the bathroom, so as long as they're moving around a little bit, it'll keep the lights on, but they don't have to worry about leaving the light on all night, because that routine is going to kill the power to that light after 20 minutes of nobody being in the bathroom. So little things like this can make the routine so much smoother. You can have it automatically unlock a door or open a door. I have another client who is a wheelchair user, and we have an automatic door opener connected to his door, and it's also a Wi-Fi automatic door opener. And so he has a routine in Alexa that lets him say, "Alexa, open the door," and it opens the door for him because he is using a manual wheelchair. He has to keep his hands on the wheels, and that means that he's not having to fumble around with other things and risk dropping something and getting his hands off the wheels to mash buttons and control the door. He can just say it. Um, and so these sorts of routines are great for helping people, automate their life, and remind things about what they're doing, or do the same things every day. And it can really be a big boost to individual independence.
Awesome. That's right. Yeah, and obviously we spend a lot of time talking about Alexa and in our work because we use them for a lot of various solutions for individuals. So we have our gripes about the Amazon and Echo Alexa ecosystem, but a lot of times it's the right solution for the situations that we come across. So thank you, Ezra, for sharing that. And then I also wanted to talk a little. One of the features that and maybe this is one of the reasons that we do get frustrated with them. So when Alexa came out, it had a lot of features, and sometimes they split those features off and they become a premium service that you have to start paying for. There's a paywall on it. So one example of that is what's now called Emergency Assist. So you used to be able to set up your Alexa devices to either hear the smoke detector, or that would identify glass breaking, or you could set up an emergency phrase. So you could say, Alexa, I need help, and it would jump into calling the individuals that you have reset up to have it call. So they kind of split that off. There is still all that functionality available. It's a new service called Emergency Assist. It's $6 a month or $60 a year. And it does have it senses glass breaking, it senses smoke detectors or other alerts, and you can kind of program it. You can test your alert and then say, when this happens, I want you to do this. So it has some good cause and effect features. But not everything's behind the paywall. We still, I think, is it only, do you guys know, is it with Prime membership that you can still do the phone calls, or can you do that with as long as your phone's set up with the same Alexa app, you can still make the phone call?
As long as your phone is set up with the Alexa app, you can actually make phone calls through your Alexa to your phone, or through your phone, as long as your phone is physically present at the house. So that way you could make phone calls with your Alexa, and it would come in as if it was being called from your phone, which it is. So it's using Alexa to call through your phone. And so your family members would get the call coming in from your number, and not just a random foreign number. Versus, for example, I have the Alexa that my children use. It has all the contacts from my phone in it, or rather, it has my number, my wife's number, the important numbers like that. But whenever it calls, when they make a phone call from it, it doesn't have my number attached to it, so it's just coming up as an unknown number. And and that sometimes it's usually spam, and when they're calling me from Alexa, it's usually spam. Just they're whining that they're out of pizza rolls or something. So it's still spam. But it comes in as an unknown number when they're doing that, and I know that a lot of the time it's them, and I answer the phone anyway. But if I had my phone at home and it wasn't available to me, I've left it on the counter and I've fallen or something like that, I can set up Alexa so that I can use it and I can make a phone call through Alexa, and it would come through as my phone number.
Nice. Okay. Thanks for those examples, Ezra. Yeah, so that's obviously a big solution for safety using the Alexa devices. We also use the Alexa devices to control lights and locks, which can also impact safety. So a lot of smart door locks, which we'll talk about one specifically here in a little bit. But being able to give a verbal command to lock or unlock the door, one of the security features that Amazon has put in on that is that in order to unlock it with your voice, you do have to, there's some settings you got to set up, one of which is you have to set up a verbal number code. So I think it's got to be like a 4-number code, so that if you say like, Alexa, unlock the front door, you'll get a response that says, give me your password or your PIN code. And so you'll have to speak that before it'll actually unlock. Now you can lock it without that. So you could always just say, Alexa, lock the front door, and it'll follow that command without any extra code. And then another big security feature that we utilize Alexa's for, specifically with the Show line of products, because it has a screen that obviously you can see, is that connection with the video doorbells. So, you know, whether that's Ring or Blink or Rio Link, all the various video doorbells, you can use them to see who's at the front door when they ring the doorbell. Ezra mentioned routines. You can set up a routine that when the front door is pressed, it automatically pops up on your Show device so you can see who's there. A lot of the video doorbells will allow you to do two-way communication through them. One that does not, or at least that doesn't currently, is the Blink one, correct, guys?
Not with the Alexa anyway.
Yeah. So Blink does not allow you to do the two-way audio. I believe you can hear who's outside, but you can't speak back to them. So that's a current limitation. And yeah, so that's some of the uses that we recommend Alexas for regarding safety. And now Evan's going to talk to you about some other things.
So often individuals spend most of their time split up in different areas of their house. Some people might spend a lot of their time in the living room and the bedroom, or, you know, the kitchen. And so sometimes we'll propose and talk about having multiple devices in your house that are Alexa devices. Maybe one with a screen in the living room, maybe the dot that doesn't have a screen in the bedroom, or vice versa. And so what would be the benefit of that? Well, that there's obvious examples, like that keeps you from having to scream and yell if you're farther away. Like, say you have your kitchen lights tied on to your routine or your vocal commands, but your Show 8 is in your bedroom, because that's where you get the most benefit from it. But sometimes when you're not in your bedroom, you want to turn a light on, so we'll put another unit kind of closer to that area where you're using that most of the time. So we wouldn't have to yell. Also, there are other unique features with the Alexa devices. They're all connected in the Alexa app and off the same network, so you can actually communicate between the two devices. So you can do simple commands like, say, you can say, Alexa, make an announcement. So say you need help, need some assistance, or you want to get the attention of someone else in your family or your support group. You can say, Alexa, make an announcement, and then it'll request, what's your announcement? And you say, I'm ready for dinner, for an example. And then that recording of your voice will blast through all the connected Alexa devices on the network and that are been registered to your Alexa app. So just the other day, I did an example for this at a family, and like every TV was a Fire TV. And so like all the TVs in the house just, broadcasted my specific example that I was showing the family what to do with the drop-in or with the announcement features.
What did they think of that, Evan?
They were like, oh, okay, yeah. Because it overrides, if you're watching TV, just like it makes that announcement over the speaker. So just another way of getting communication to other people in the house. And in line with that as well, I kept using the phrase drop-in, but that's another option. So announcements and drop-in are two different features, but essentially you can turn your Alexas into intercom system at will. So you could say, Alexa, drop in on all devices, and then that will take all these compatible devices, all the Alexas, all the Alexa with screens or without screens. It'll connect them all and open the system to a two-way, or I guess it's just like it's just hot. Like everything's open for communication. So you can be like, hey, I need some assistance in the bedroom, please. And then person can respond, oh, what's wrong? And be like, I'm having issues getting out of bed right now. I'm like, okay, I'll be right there. And that's a live interaction. And if you have different Alexas, like if that's happening on two screen devices with cameras or not, you have other options as well to communicate and keep kind of a line of communication going when needed.
What if somebody doesn't want that?
Yeah, so this is something you could drop in. You have to do the command and drop in, and then if you don't want to be bothered by that aspect too, you can, for instance, each Alexa with the screen has a little camera slider that physically blocks the camera. So you just slide it into place. It's pretty visually, like you know when it's blocked. There's a white square over the camera. And are you able to turn devices and to disable them in the drop-in feature as well?
Yeah.
You can disable drop-in on a per device basis.
Yeah. So if you have a device in the bathroom or something, you can take that device and turn it into a drop-free zone. Like it can't be connected to that system.
We use drop-in feature all the time on our Alexas because it's a great way to tell people it's dinner time. Mm-hmm. So I have an Alexa in the kitchen. And we can say, Alexa, send an announcement to, dinner time, and it sends that message to, upstairs, downstairs, all the rooms that typically have people in them that aren't in earshot of the kitchen, which means I'm not having to go in person to all the rooms and tell everybody it's dinner time, and I'm not having to scream like a crazy person. Right. That is dinner time, or even beat a triangle or something like that. It's I could use Alexa with this.
And you could tie those commands, the announcement commands and or the drop-in features, and we can tie those into smart buttons or some other alternative way to activate those routines. For instance, we had a member one time where her husband wanted to spend time out in the shed working on his woodshop projects. But he didn't feel comfortable leaving her completely alone, but she was mostly okay, but every now and then she might need help. So she wasn't verbally able to consistently ask him to do these features. So we set it up with a smart button. So she presses the smart button, it kind of activates, and then she can talk to that, to the best of her ability, to communicate to the shed, the wood shop, that, whatever she needs to communicate. The husband's alerted, and he can come inside and make sure everything's A-okay.
Yeah, that's good. Here's actually, I've got, so this is an example of what those buttons would look like. Just one option. There's other ones too.
Yeah, get that.
So I mentioned it earlier. We're going to talk a little bit about some new products that came out. SwitchBot, which is a manufacturer of some smart home technology and items that we use for enabling technology purposes. I got blasted in my email last week about they were dropping these new products, and so naturally I was curious as to what they were bringing out and what the improvements would be. When we get to the locks, we'll talk about some issues that we've had previously with their products. But one of the things I saw they've got a SmartBot hub. It's a new hub. It costs more money. It has more features, but for most of the purposes that we use hubs for, this one doesn't really have any impact for us. A lot of times the hub is something that you just have to have it with smart home technology so that it communicates specifically with the platforms like Alexa or Siri or Google. Does Google thing have a Nest?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Nest. So it's really just like it's a translator that connects, their smart home product to another system that you have more compatibility or control over. Another thing that I saw was so they've got these new SwitchBot roller shades, which Evan and I were just talking about. A member that we're looking at shades with just this week, and one of the things I saw that was neat was that they're adjustable width. So I'm assuming you got to cut them down, but it's actually a built-in roller shade. So specifically with the project we're talking about with Evan and that member, these are going to go over the top of existing blinds. Evan, you want to share kind of what the scenario is and why we're going with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I messed up, and we went with blind controllers, but it was not they weren't compatible to the blinds,
which were also SwitchBot. So they've got there's various blinds, but these specific, the ones we typically use are the twist control for mini blinds. So if you think about your mini blinds, if you twist them to be closed, the window's totally covered, and if you twist them to be open, then you can see through the window, but you don't actually have to pull the blinds up or down. So
yeah, and that bot just takes and switches. A SwitchBot just mounts to the actual twisting rod and twists it physically. But they had a pulley system, and I overlooked that. So we were trying to come up with solutions to match what we had talked about previously, and looking at these roller shades. So their blinds are recessed into the framing of the window, and these shades can be mounted on the outside of the window frame. That way they can leave their blinds up, down, leave them all the way open, and then the shade would be what is controlled the letting light. So they have a couple options there. They can fully retract the blinds into an upward position, and then they can open up the shade to let all just to see outside, or they can leave the blinds in a fully open setting, and then the shade can go up and then kind of achieve that same volume of letting light in, yet restricting that privacy that even the open blinds can give you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so like, why would we be even recommending blind controls? And Evan nailed it right there. So we've got the privacy issue. So if it's in a bedroom, things happen in the bedroom that you don't want your neighbor walking by the window to see. So you can close it. But then also just the natural benefit. I'm here in my office with no windows, and Evan's got a window behind him, and Ezra's in the mobile office, which has lots of windows. So there's benefit to having natural daylight. As we've all experienced, but some people are affected by too much light as well. So we've put lighting in for people that have situations where they want to restrict the amount of natural light in their space as well. So that's the roller shades. The other one, that kind of it interested me. I don't want to get too far into it just because sometimes these get rejected when we recommend them. But the SwitchBot has put out what they call the S10. It's a floor cleaning robot, and the unique concept for this one is that it actually hooks up to your water line in your house as well as your drain. So this one is quote unquote fully automatic. And this is more there's kind of two styles of robotic vacuums or cleaners. This one is more on the mop style. This is not a vacuum style. So my understanding is it fills up with water. It runs around your house. Obviously, this is going to be like hard flooring. Anything that you would mop, it'll mop it up. It keeps the dirty water in a tank as well, and then it goes back to its base station and actually spits it down into your house's drain. So and then it goes to its base station and recharges as well. So more automation than ones we've seen previously, which I think is interesting. That comes at a price though. So the MSRP on that thing is $1,200. So that's a big chunk of change. When would we recommend this? I'm thinking of situations where an individual can't find a caregiver. Some people live remote and there's just not a lot of caregivers available. So that's would be one situation. Yeah. And anything else anybody wants to say on that? Okay. The last thing I want to talk about, which is what really piqued my interest about this SwitchBot's unveiling of new products, is what they're calling the SwitchBot Lock, the SwitchBot Lock Ultra. So we've used SwitchBot a lot in the past year because they've got a couple variations on their product, one of which allows you to essentially use 3M sticky, double-sided tape to mount a smart lock controller onto the inside of your door. So this works really well for people who are renting an apartment or don't own their house and can't get permission to modify it. So it goes over the existing lock and just it's got a motor inside that through your phone or through your Alexa, you can tell it to lock or unlock your door, and that'll enable you to control that remotely. Works great for people who are in bed and can't get up in time to answer the door, or that just don't have the dexterity to unlock a typical door lock. So what's new on the Lock Ultra, right? So I talked about the option that you can mount it on the inside of the door. They also had another model, and it's still there. It's called the SwitchBot Lock Pro. And I feel like we should have a moment of silence for all the screws that have been lost trying to install the SwitchBot Lock Pro. Evan, you want to give us a little example of how that?
I got one right here. You see it?
What makes that so hard to install, Evan?
You see it? Just super tiny, and really close to the door, so you don't have a lot of room to do the tool, and they give you a lot of space, so they really expect you to drop a few. And
they're also the same color as everything else that the same color as the lock itself,
yeah.
Black, and they're smaller than a grain of rice by a good margin.
And you have to be putting pressure on it too to make sure you're fully flush, and so you just any kind of give.
Yeah. So I mean, all these add up to being frustrating. Like, I prefer that one because the sticky back one, inevitably, if there's kids in the house or with time, it's not as dependable. So I prefer the lock one, but typically when we're installing them, we are cursing ourselves under our breath because they are a nightmare at times to put on. So what I'm excited about for SwitchBot's unveiling is this Lock Ultra, because it kind of solves both of these situations with one improved product. So they no longer have those tiny screws. So the installation is going to be easier for us. It's going to be easier for any members or their circle of support that can do the install on their own. They also have a kit that you can buy to supplement it, and that kit is called the Universal Adapter Kit. So what that does is it allows this new Ultra Lock to be mounted with sticky back still, and it has an adapter. So again, it's a solution for the individual who doesn't have permission or is not able to change their lock. So big improvements on the mounting is my expectation. We haven't put one of these in our hands or onto a door yet, but I imagine we'll do that soon.
Another good improvement for the consumer is the battery on this Ultra is rechargeable. So no more having to keep track of really bizarre battery sizes that no one even knows what they are, like 1, 2, 3 C's or whatever. I don't know. They're bizarre.
That's a great point. And they, who knows if their marketing is accurate, but they claim 12 months of use out of the main battery, and then they have 2 other backups. One they claim 1,000 backup operations, and then they say 5 emergency unlocks. So they're making sure you can get in and out of your door if you need to.
Right.
And then another accessory that you can add to the Ultra, which it was dropped just last week, is the Lock Ultra Vision, which does facial recognition for controlling the lock. So one of the things, they have a keypad. We've had users who struggle with the keypad. Sometimes the buttons are too close together. Sometimes it's just a flat screen, and it doesn't provide a lot of tactile feedback. I'm excited to see how well this keypad vision works as far as facial recognition and just how the interaction will go. So don't imagine I'll have this on my house, but maybe we'll put it on somebody else's soon.
One of the things about SwitchBot that I like as well, even if you're not in a restricted like option, like a apartment or something, you yourself, even with the Ultra, you don't need to change any keys. It changes the locks. It keeps all the tumblers the same. So it's nice to get a new lock. And at the end of the day, you're like, all right, here's your new keys. I'm go make a bunch of copies for everybody. That's good luck. Now this is like, no, all the keys are the same. Don't have to worry about it.
That's a great point. Great point, Evan. All right, so I'm going to pretend like we just had some questions come in. There's some questions here from the audience. I'll just throw them out there, and you guys can answer them. Or if you guys are too quiet, I'll try to jump in and answer it myself. What happens if the internet goes out? Do any of these devices still work?
Essentially, no. All of these things are smart devices, which is a fancy way of saying that internet is required. Now, for things like for some of the smart door locks, if you have a key code that you have to type for that key to operate the door, that part still works. Or if the door lock has an emergency key, that part still works, even if you don't have power. But for things like the Alexa or the motion sensor lights or the routines, all of these sorts of things, they go out if you lose internet.
Now, the smart lock is still going to have options to work as a normal lock. You can still utilize your keys. You're not locked out of your house just because your lock is no longer connected to the internet. You can still use the old-fashioned way. I always recommend to people, even though you have a smart lock, still carry your key with you when you leave, just in case.
That's a good point. Can you control everything with just one app, or do you have to use multiple apps?
As much as I would love to have one app for everything, there's usually vendor-specific apps that are needed. So we found a few apps that control most of the smart home devices, but there's still going to be equipment that needs its own separate app.
If you're set up on an Alexa system, you can always fall back on getting on your Alexa smart app, and you have all your devices listed, and you can control some of them via that app. A little less convenient than like using your voice or something, but usually with these things you have two apps to access them, or a vocal option if that is set up. We try to simplify it too.
Here's a kind of softball I'm gonna toss out. What exactly is the difference between assistive technology and enabling technology?
This is a definition that is full of weasel words. The insurance companies are still going back and forth on this. Assistive technology is an older definition. It's essentially any device that helps a person with a disability be more independent. That's how it was defined for Congress. Enabling technology is usually differentiated into electronics that help someone be more independent at home or in the community. So assistive technology could technically be my glasses, although that's too common. Assistive technology can include very low-tech options like up or something to help you with your shoes. It can be things for speech communication or hearing amplification, or things to magnify in small print. All of those would actually be classed as assistive technology. Enabling technology is a subset of that. And when we're talking about smart home modifications or being able to control the TV with your voice or things like that, the focus is not so much on work and vocation. It's more focused on personal independence at home and or for the community.
Great. We'll end with this one, and I think we can all speak into this a little bit and we'll add to, and then when we've covered it completely, we'll close it out here. But how do you figure out which technology is right for someone?
So during our consultations, we like to talk to the individual and their support group, if possible. Anyone who knows their situation and is pretty intimate with their challenges and limitations in life. We personally like to hear their goals, their challenges that they come across daily, a part of their routine, things that they just wish they could have a little bit more control over, things that they maybe we could find a solution for. And so we put our heads together and we come up with personalized, catered solutions, utilizing a whole array of tech that we may not even be familiar with. Like, I never heard of this thing. Have you guys heard of this? Just as every week or someone sends something to us in our group chat and like, look at this thing. This is a pretty neat item. This might be a good solution for someone out there. So we're always in the prowl looking for something that is specific to someone's needs. So we try not to push too many things. Now, some things they're like a Swiss Army knife of possible solutions and features, like the Alexa. Like, that thing can hit a lot of different needs, and maybe one of these features we talked about in the Alexa just really appeals to your needs, and the other ones don't. Well, it doesn't mean you can't benefit from them. There's still features that are in the device itself. So we try our very best to come together and talk to the individual, offer the solutions that we found, and see if they're applicable to where they are in life, and if it is something that they will benefit from. Because at the end of the day, we want to have them something that they truly will benefit from, not something they won't need, and not something they'll feel too unsure or unsafe or how to use. They want to make sure they're comfortable with it as well.
Want to add anything to that, Ezra?
No, I mean, he covered it pretty well. The key part is we try and see the member space, talk to the member, talk about their needs, talk about what matters to them and what their goals are, and the little sticky spots that are in their crawl that I can't do this thing because of my disability. I have trouble doing this thing because of my disability, and trying to find solutions that make them more independent.
Yeah, awesome. They both covered it really well. So I'll just say, we focus on the individual and what their goals are, and then how to best meet that. Just to kind of give a little teaser for the next talk, a lot of the individuals we serve, they might have a disability, but some people that we serve are just categorized as aging in place, right? So we serve an aging population, and that comes with some challenges, one of which is some need for some cognitive support. So I think our next talk will kind of focus on some cognitive supports that we can recommend for individuals. And then again, we'll open it up for questions and let you know about any updates or kind of cases that we've provided that would be kind of generally good knowledge for the community to have. So if you have any questions or recommendations on things we talk about, by all means, let us know. I also want to plug our website. We, for a long time, have had a website that was, it verged on, I don't know, geosites, Ezra. What would have been in the
Placeholder.
What's that?
What was a placeholder?
The placeholder. Okay, sure. So very limited information. We're working on both putting information onto there that's useful for the community, as well as a tool, which for right now, maybe it'll stay this way. It's if you go to our website, it's called Technology Finder. We're gonna put all the items that we've that we've provided individuals onto there and just kind of talk. As we go through them, we'll add some justifications on what situation we used it in. There'll be some links to purchase them on there, as well as pictures and descriptions. So all of our descriptions will be kind of wrapped around the whole idea of assistive and enabling technology, as opposed to when you go to Amazon or the product page, it's just a general description of the product. But we'll try to make it more in the lens of our work. And hopefully that helps you find technology that will benefit in your circumstance. So without further ado, I think we're going to wrap up here. I appreciate everyone's time today, and just for you guys sharing your knowledge. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.